Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
The COVID outlook throughout New York continues to improve each day, but there has been an increase in the number of violations to the state's safety guidelines throughout the southern tier. Matt Kleindus joins us in Corning with the message from the county executive to residents and businesses.
Good evening. County Executive Chris Moss released a letter on Monday reminding residents to remain vigilant and that there's still active cases in the area. According to the county, multiple complaints have been filed regarding residents and businesses not cooperating with COVID safety guidelines. In a letter released by the county executive on Monday, they have seen instances of improper social distancing and failure to wear masks throughout the weekend. The complaints have come from restaurants, bars, and retail outlets throughout the county. Chris Moss commented on the recent complaints, saying in part, "While I look forward to a future where we no longer have to abide by wearing masks and social distancing, I respectfully remind residents that we're still experiencing a small COVID infection rate." Chemung County reported 7 new active cases on Monday and currently has a 7-day rolling average of 1.89%. Moss adds that the county needs to avoid having Governor Cuomo place additional restrictions on the area. Matt Kleindus, Big Fox, WYDC in Corning.
A new study has identified possible racial disparity in rates of coronavirus in nursing homes. The study was published Tuesday in the medical journal JAMA Network Open. It found that in communities with high rates of coronavirus, there were more cases in nursing homes with more racial minorities and fewer patient care hours. Residents in those facilities were more likely to be older and insured by Medicaid. Those homes also had lower occupancy rates and fewer direct care hours for patients. The research team recommended increasing staff support and resources in homes with disproportionate shares of racial minorities and Medicaid users. The first children have gotten Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine. It's part of the pharmaceutical company's pediatric clinical trial. About 6,700 children in the U.S. and Canada between the ages of 6 months and 11 years old are participating. They're getting 2 doses of the vaccine spaced out 28 days apart. As the trial continues, some children will be getting a placebo. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration authorized emergency use of Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine for adults in December. As more COVID-19 vaccines become available and more people become eligible for shots, can employers require employees to get their shots before returning to work? Haley Hines has more from Florida.
Vaccine eligibility is now 60 and up in Florida.
I want to see my children again.
And while many are eager to get the shot,
we want concerts, we want to be eating outside with friends.
Not everyone's rolling up their sleeve. So what happens if your boss wants to require vaccination? Can they? And can they fire you if you don't?
Generally, the answer is yes, and there's exceptions.
Florida is an at-will employment state. Unless you're under contract or in a union, employees have few legal rights and can be terminated for just about anything. However,
if an employee can't get the vaccine for a health reason, or because they have a disability, or there's some religious reason why they can't get the vaccine, then the employer has to engage in what is called the interactive process to see if there's a reasonable alternative to that.
Can they work remotely or away from other employees? Will they wear a mask?
But there's some situations where it may be required, like in health care or something like that, that it may be more safety sensitive than others.
A survey of nearly 2,000 employers and representatives done by Lidler Mendelson found that less than 1% have mandated shots for employees. 6% plan to once they have FDA approval beyond emergency use authorization. 3% plan to require it for certain employees. 43% have not decided against mandating the vaccine, while 48% would not require them. More than half of those responding fear resistance from employees not in a protected category, the impact on morale, and legal liability for adverse reactions.
There's a lot of moving parts, and I don't think there's really a definitive answer to all these issues. It's going to be developing in the law what's going to happen in the future.
COVID-19 antibodies are present in about 1 in 5 blood donations from unvaccinated people. That data is from the American Red Cross during the first week of March. With the 20% of antibodies from unvaccinated people and the 11% of antibodies from fully vaccinated people, nearly 1/3 of Americans may have COVID-19 antibodies. The American Red Cross's findings might seem high when you consider the number of reported positive COVID-19 cases only represents 9% of the U.S. population. But experts estimate the actual number is much higher. A New York man is dead after police say 2 teens intentionally set him on fire. The attack happened Friday in Rochester. According to investigators, the man was sitting in a chair in his apartment when a 14-year-old and a 16-year-old sprayed him with a fluid, then set him on fire. The victim suffered second and third-degree burns over 70% of his body. He was in the hospital for 4 days before he died. The 2 boys involved were taken into custody and have been charged with assault and arson. In the wake of the victim's death, the Monroe County District Attorney's Office plans to upgrade their charges. More than 2 months after the violent attack on the U.S. Capitol, 2 men are facing assault charges after the FBI says that they sprayed 2 Capitol police officers in the face with a toxic chemical agent. One of those officers, Brian Sicknick, died the next day. Britt Conway has a look at what's next in this case, including the possibility of upgraded charges.
January 6th, hundreds of rioters stormed the U.S. Capitol. Prosecutors say among them, 32-year-old Julian Ellie Cater and 39-year-old George Pierre Tanios. They're each facing 9 counts for what investigators say happened that day.
It's clear that it took a long time for law enforcement to get to this point.
The Brian Sicknick case has been a priority for investigators. According to a criminal complaint, the men were, quote, working together to assault law enforcement officers with an unknown chemical substance by spraying officers directly in the face and eyes. One of those 3 officers was Sicknick. Police say he went back to a command center and collapsed. He died the next day. Cater and Tanios faced judges on Monday. Cater's attorney says he plans to plead not guilty. Tanios will have a hearing Thursday on whether he'll stay in jail before trial. Prosecutors say they worry he could run or obstruct justice if he's let out, and that he's a danger to the community. Right now, they're charged with assault, not murder. Investigators didn't say in the complaint whether the exposure to the spray directly caused Sicknick's death.
They are keenly focused on trying to find the right evidence to fully understand how he lost his life. What was that, singular moment? We may not get to that.
And if they can't, prosecutors still have a powerful tool to make their case.
You are also going to have 2 officers who are going to say, I was sprayed in the face with a chemical substance.
I'm Britt Conway, reporting.
A Capitol police officer was suspended after anti-Semitic reading material was found near his work area. A congressional aide reportedly saw the protocols of the meetings of the Learned Elders of Zion at a checkpoint. Those papers are a work of fiction that were published in a Russian newspaper in 1903 and used as propaganda. They purportedly show a Jewish conspiracy to take over the world. The Capitol Police Office of Professional Responsibility is investigating the incident. The situation at the nation's southwest border is quickly becoming a problem for the Biden administration. FEMA is now opening more spaces to hold and process thousands of migrant children. A group of Republicans say President Biden's immigration policies are to blame. Lauren Blanchard is in Washington with more.
The Homeland Security Secretary says the U.S. is on pace to encounter more individuals on the southwest border than in the last 20 years, thousands of which are children. Republicans are calling it a human tragedy and crisis. The White House says it's not their fault, and it's a problem which they have under control.
The border is secure. That's what we do, and we are doing it.
But the Biden administration's approach to the southern border isn't winning points with Republicans nor many progressive Democrats. FEMA is opening new facilities to house and process thousands of unaccompanied children, while the DHS says they are continuing to expel most single adults and families due to the pandemic.
We are doing everything we can, and that includes Spanish language radio, social media, making sure that we convey the message that the border is not open.
Republicans say the "don't come" message isn't getting through, and they are putting pressure on President Biden to weigh in.
He's got to reverse course. This is inhumane. Inhumane.
Lawmakers say there is big disagreement over how to fix America's immigration system, even within the parties. Senate Majority Whip Dick Durbin says Democrats do not have the votes in either chamber of Congress for a comprehensive plan. Republicans also do not have enough support for their ideas.
Believe me, we want to make changes in the immigration system and strengthen our border, but unfortunately, we don't have any Democratic support on that.
Secretary Mayorkas says the administration has no illusions on how hard it will be to fix the border situation, but he says they will fix it over time. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
The Guthrie Corning Cancer Center is asking residents for donations to continue its life-saving work. Due to safety concerns with the pandemic, the Cancer Center's Valentine's Ball was canceled and replaced with a year-long fundraising effort called the Year of Love campaign. Dr. Raul Gosain says a donation to the Year of Love campaign will allow Guthrie to provide the best care it can for its patients.
With ongoing changes in oncology and hematology, this is one place where you can get multiple different opinions and you can appreciate the input from different teams right away.
Those who are interested in donating are asked to go to their website at guthrie.org/valentinesball. Still ahead tonight, a plea to all Americans from top U.S. health officials asking everyone to keep up public health measures.
I'm pleading with you for the sake of our nation's health. These should be warning signs for all of us.
What health experts fear will lead to a potential spike in COVID-19 cases.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Tonight's Big Fox forecast is brought to you by William Attar. Good evening, everyone. I'm meteorologist Kim Walker with your weather update. Temperatures today started off on the frigid side. It was mostly cloudy today, so those temperatures really didn't warm up all that much, but at least it was warmer than yesterday. 3 degrees warmer in Elmira as well as in Corning, 8 degrees warmer this afternoon in Bath and also in Watkins Glen. Tomorrow is going to be a pretty mild day. There could be some freezing drizzle as we start off the day, but we are expecting drier conditions, cloudy conditions though, throughout the day. Highs will be in the mid to upper 50s after starting off in the 30s, and we're going to stay in the 50s through the early evening hours. We are expecting another storm system to come in. Initially, we're going to be on the warmer side of the system. That's why we're going to see those mild conditions tomorrow. However, by Thursday, there will be a few showers, possibly mixing in with a few flurries by the end of the day. But there will be a low pressure system moving eastward into the mid-Atlantic, and that's going to stretch some of this moisture right into our area. So we are expecting the possibility of a few showers, a few isolated showers for your Thursday, but then those temperatures will be plummeting for the end of the week. Our future radar is showing tomorrow morning. We're going to start off relatively quiet. However, if you notice the pink that was showing up, there could be a few freezing drizzle across our area, but then that should move away. Maybe a few sprinkles here and there throughout the day, but overall it's going to be relatively quiet. But then our next storm system starts to make its presence known. By 7 o'clock in the morning on Thursday, a few showers from Hornell to Corning to Elmira, and it becomes a little bit more widespread by the afternoon into the evening hours. But notice on the blue that's showing up, that's an indication that there could be a few flurries mixing in by the end of the day as those temperatures will be plummeting. And then in the early evening hours at around 7 o'clock, it looks like all that precipitation will be switching over to snow. So there could be a few snow showers in the evening hours on Thursday. But during the overnight, I'm expecting all this activity to move out, and it should be a lot more quiet over the weekend. Tonight, temperatures drop down to around 33 degrees in Corning, 30 in Elmira, with a few showers, possibly a drizzle or two, freezing drizzle early tomorrow morning. And then throughout the day, we warm up. 57 degrees the high in Corning, 56 in Elmira, 53 in Perkinsville, so it's going to be a pretty nice day. However, our chances of rain will increase on Thursday, possibly switching over to snow by the end of the day, and then colder air moves in for the end of the week. By Friday, we're going to see a 20-degree drop from Wednesday. So again, highs close to the freezing mark. Over the weekend, we recover with highs back into the upper 50s on Sunday.
A plea to Americans from top U.S. health officials for everyone to keep up public health measures for fear of a coronavirus surge when weather gets warmer. And the CDC could change some guidelines when it comes to social distancing at schools. Mandy Guthrie has the latest on the war against COVID-19 in today's Health Minute.
In just about every state, the more contagious coronavirus variant first identified in the UK has been found. It's still projected to become the dominant variant in the U.S. by the end of this month or early April.
In some states, Florida and California, it's up to 25%. In other states, it's lower.
With travel hitting a pandemic record over the weekend, top U.S. health officials fear a potential spike in COVID-19 cases.
We have seen footage of people enjoying spring break festivities maskless. This is all in the context of still 50,000 cases per day. I'm pleading with you for the sake of our nation's health. These should be warning signs for all of us. Cases climbed last spring, they climbed again in the summer. They will climb now if we stop taking precautions when we continue to get more and more people vaccinated.
Meanwhile, the CDC is reviewing new data on physical distancing after a study published in the journal Clinical Infectious Diseases showed similar infection rates for mask-wearing students and staff at Massachusetts public schools at 6 feet and 3 feet of physical distancing.
The question actually prompted more studies to be done, so we know more are forthcoming. We're taking all of those data carefully and revisiting our guidances in that context.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Guthrie.
An interesting case out of Florida. Doctors say a pregnant healthcare worker received the coronavirus vaccine and for the first time passed those antibodies on to her newborn. Anna Espinosa has more on what this could mean in the fight against the virus.
To our knowledge, this was the first in the world that was reported of a baby being born with antibodies after a vaccination.
According to the doctors, a local frontline healthcare worker was 36 weeks pregnant when she was given the first dose of the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine. The baby girl was born 3 weeks later in late January, and a blood sample was taken.
We tested the baby's, what we call the cord blood, or the baby's blood, to see if the antibodies from the vaccine in the mother passed to the baby, which is something that we see happen with other vaccines given during pregnancy.
The results showed the baby had the COVID-19 antibodies. Dr. Rudnick says this is significant in the fight to protect children from COVID.
This is one small case in what will be thousands and thousands of babies born to mothers who've been vaccinated over the next several months.
But the article on the findings published by the local pediatricians on MedRxiv says there are some factors that indicate that newborns born to vaccinated mothers will remain at risk for infection.
Further studies have to determine how long this protection will last. They have to determine at what level of protection or how many antibodies does a baby need to have circulating in order to give them protection.
The doctors say their paper has been accepted for publication as well, and they're waiting for the journal to put it on their site.
Air travel hit a new pandemic record over the weekend, with more people traveling over the last 4 days than any 4 days since the start of the pandemic, despite warnings from the CDC for people to put off traveling. Mandy Guthrie has a look at the numbers.
When it comes to air travel, the numbers say it all. 5.2 million people have flown since Thursday, a new pandemic record. But the airline industry is still struggling.
Our business is still off relative to 2019 levels, pre-pandemic levels. It's still down 65%, at least in February.
The industry's hoping the new numbers are the start of a comeback, especially after it just received $40 billion in a new stimulus. But recovery is not yet a sure bet. Southwest Airlines CEO Gary Kelly says it may take 5 years or more to recover to pre-pandemic levels of business travel.
Right now, we're very dependent upon consumers to fill up our airplanes. Our hope is that by the time we get to June, where you've had much of the population having had access to vaccinations, that we've got a chance at breaking even at least.
Airlines for America says the U.S. is unlikely to see a return to pre-pandemic passenger volumes before 2023. Right now, the organization says most people are booking travel only a couple weeks out. As for the air industry's future, it's still hard to forecast, but there's hope.
I think there are very clear signs that our business is picking up, which is very consistent from everything else that we're reading.
For Consumer Watch, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Some workers may have trouble touching base with their fellow employees due to a technical glitch. Microsoft says Teams, its workplace communication platform, and other services are experiencing issues due to a problematic software update. Microsoft is rolling back the update, but it's taking longer than expected to remedy the situation. According to Down Detector, an outage tracking website, at least 30,000 users are affected. Feeling uneasy about your future Tinder date? Well, the online dating site is integrating a background check feature later this year. It will pull a person's criminal record by collecting public records, like arrests, reports of violence, abuse, and restraining orders. For a yet-to-be-determined price, Tinder users will be able to do a background check on a potential date. They just need first name and phone number or a full name. Testing the new feature will take place in the coming months. A doctor in California found some Broadway inspiration to convince people to get the COVID-19 vaccine. Ryan Hill has more.
I'm not throwing away my shot. Broadway buffs across the world know the tune.
We are musicians and we liked Hamilton.
Dr. Andrew Liu writing his own rendition of My Shot from the hit musical, encouraging people not to throw away their shot when it comes to getting the COVID-19 vaccine.
What better combination than to use a song like My Shot to promote it? So that's where the idea came from.
An idea Liu roped other doctors into as well.
Andrew recruited me pretty heavily.
We started all chipping in with these ideas and we're like, all right, let's do this thing.
It's the CORONAVIRUS. It's COVID-19. Soon there would be 7 members of this COVID cover band.
This seemed like a good combination of kind of community giving back and medicine.
By the end, we're like, all right, this is pretty cool.
The frontline workers with fancy footwork had some help with the video. A West Sacramento filmmaker edited it. A wife of one of the doctors came up with these dance moves, and his teenage son made this animation.
It was really awesome to see it. Just like to know, oh, whoa, I did that.
Lou's wife, who's also a doctor, also took part to show another importance of
Gonna take a shot. I wanted to talk to Andrew about getting that work at home parent, because I think all of us, working at home, especially with young kids, really felt it this year.
It's been a year with highs and lows for many. There's one thing these doctors hope they hit, the right pitch with their message.
The real struggle is the hearts and minds of people to convince them that, no, you don't have to be afraid.
Rise up, time to take a shot.
We want to leave you with a smile tonight. It's time to shine a light on a popular bear. Today is National Panda Day. Pandas are among the world's most endangered species. There are less than 2,000 of them in the world, partly because panda breeding programs are uncommon. Pandas usually isolate themselves while in the world. Their diet consists mainly of plants, and unlike most bears, pandas don't hibernate during the winter. Pandas only live about 15 to 20 years in the wild, but those in captivity can live longer. There are about 27 zoos worldwide that protect giant pandas and foster environments to encourage reproduction. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Have a good night. We'll see you back here tomorrow.